So I'm David Brown. I am the director of the vFabric Applied Technology Group and one of the original legacy architects from the Gemstone acquisition. And now we're going to talk about some of the customer use cases, customers who have applied the GemFire technology and achieved some dramatic results and some dramatic business transformation in their applications. One of the first examples we'll talk about will be a sell-side investment bank, one of the largest sell-side investment banks in the world. And with a sell-side investment bank, you have an inventory of stocks that you're trying to sell to your customers. So you have two main things that you have to do as part of your application. You have to determine what your risk is, what your exposure is based on the stocks that you're holding, and you have to determine what price you're going to offer those stocks to your customers. So this bank wanted to run a real-time pricing and risk calculation. The state of the street is that back a few years, everybody did their risk calculation in a nightly batch run. So when you had your risk calculation and you started trading at the beginning of the day, the number that you generated over the night would start to drift away from the actual number that you would experience. So your risk would change as you did more trading. And with the acceleration of electronic trading and computer-based trading, this number started to become inaccurate very, very quickly. Another problem that complicated the situation were the Basel II and Basel III regulations. So these regulations are government regulations that require the banks to maintain a certain level of liquidity at all times. And given that they couldn't calculate their risk at any given time, it was very difficult to know how much liquidity to hold back at any given time. So as a result, they would create these large buffers of capital or overcompensate for the problem. And nothing bothered these investment banks more than having a bunch of liquidity sitting on the side that they couldn't play with. So the main driving force behind this company's decision to invent a new system was to go to real-time risk and pricing so they could reduce the size of this buffer capital and put more of their money in play. But it also was going to give them the ability to make better, more accurate decisions in their trades. So they built a system originally using a traditional relational database technology, one of the brand names out there. And they offered to have this company bring in the biggest system they could build. And they built a new system based on relational technology, and it could only handle 43 of their different products. Now, their products are the offerings or the stocks or the investments or the instruments that they're selling to their customers. The throughput through the system was so limited that they could only handle 43 products at a time. So the traders who were trading in those 43 products were very happy. The traders who were trading in the rest of the products weren't very happy. So they came to us and they built a new system based on top of GemFire. It took them about 9 to 12 months and a very small team of about 5 to 6 people to build the system and put it in production. Part of this new system also took the relational model and moved it to objects. If you think about the complex derivatives that they're trying to sell and the difference between them and the fact that they had these quants or these very strong mathematical people coming up with new and exotic different instruments to trade, those systems are all very different. So it's very difficult to model those instruments in a single relational database because they're so different. In objects, it's much more natural to using a technique called polymorphism to be able to handle different kinds of instruments but have them processed through the same system. So that's why they put that amount of time into developing the new system. But what they got in the end was a lot more speed. So on 8 CPUs of GemFire, they were able to reprice all 6,000 of their complex and exotic instruments in under 3 minutes. And in fact, they could reprice individual instruments in about 45 seconds. Their user trades or their user queries went from 20 minutes to under 5 seconds. The real reward from the system came on May the 6th, when we had in the U.S. something called the flash crash. And on that day, May the 6th, 2010, the Dow Jones dropped about 10% and then came back up about 80% of that drop within a zone of about 20 to 25 minutes. If you can think about what their new system allowed them to do, they could change their strategy and change their approach to their stocks for individual stocks every 45 seconds. Their competitors probably could do it once an hour. So this company made over $1 billion in profit off the backs of their competitors inside of that 22 minutes. Because they had this more agile system, because they were able to make more accurate, timely decisions. And this is kind of the theme that you want to look for in industry is where do I have opportunities where more timely, more real-time access to data will give me more timely decisions and give me more accurate results and give me better business results.